We should be live. If you are just joining us on RDU on stage, I'm with some of my favorite people from North Carolina Theater and the Duke Energy Center of the Performing Arts. I'm Lauren Van Hamer, and tonight is going to be a roundtable, which will be moderated by Elizabeth Doran, the CEO of North Carolina Theater. If you have any questions, just type them into the chat box on the RDU on Stage Facebook page, and we will be sure that the panelists get them. And I will see you guys at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lauren, so much for sharing your digital resources with us tonight. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Doran. I'm the president and CEO of North Carolina Theater, and I am surrounded by some of my favorite people here tonight as well, as I Zoom live from my home theater basement setup that I built for my children, who all want to be scientists instead of artists, but what are you going to do? I'm excited about that too. I have some notes here, so I might be referring to them a little bit throughout the evening. Today, we just really wanted to have a moment to touch base with all of our beautiful patrons and community members. We've had such an outpouring of love and questions and curiosity about what's going on with North Carolina Theater, our fabulous venue, the Duke Energy Center for the Performing Arts, and our industry of professional theater and venue management, that we thought it'd be great to get everyone together to talk to you tonight. I just want to remind you tonight about a couple of things about our structure for the evening. First of all, we're going to do our best to answer some questions. Some of you were kind enough to send us questions ahead of time. You may be able to put some into the chat, and we'll hope to get to those as well. Our answers are going to be the very best we can. We're in a very dynamic and fluid situation. And so as all of us are trying to see ahead as best we can, there is no real crystal ball. But we thought you might find it interesting to go on this journey with us, because we've been looking at this every single day. What happened? What's happening now? What's going to happen? So it might be fun to share with you some of that journey. So I think we're going to start with a set of questions that patrons said ahead of time. And then again, if we have time after, we're going to answer some directly. If we cannot, we'd be happy to answer those by phone. Our box office is open. You can email any one of us during general daylight hours. You can call our box office. And again, we can also try to find another time if we don't have enough time today. I think we're going to go about 40 minutes tonight. So may I ask the room to introduce themselves? Again, I'm Elizabeth, and maybe we'll start over here with Eric, who's with me at North Carolina Theater most of the time.
Hey, I'm Eric Woodall. I'm the producing artistic director at North Carolina Theater.
And I'm Michelle Bradley. I'm the interim AGM at the Duke Energy Center.
I am Brian Clark, the Director of Operations for the Raleigh Convention Center and Performing Arts Complex.
Thank you all so much. We have some questions that have been specifically asked to some of us. I may be jumping in with answering my own questions. So be prepared, everybody. Here we go. We're going to dive right in. The first set of questions relate to what happened to us. And the number one question people at first wanted to know was, why did you have to cancel your shows? It seems obvious, perhaps, there's been a pandemic, but there are many details about what we do that not everybody knows about. So I thought I might start with our venue, if I could. Brian, Michelle, talk to us. You're our number one partner, providing backstage and front of house and a place to do our art. How did this go for you at the start?
So we, like you said, it was kind of fluid. We were here on March 10th and had a show, and then all of a sudden we canceled the shows March 13th. We felt that it was the safest decision to make for patrons, for our employees, for the venue, and then it started going from there. The state closed, and then we're now in all of these what we call phases. And are we in phase 2? Are we in phase 2.3? We're, so we're working with the government on, those phases. We believe that our reopening is going to be phase 4. But again, you know, we're still in that time where we are just trying to figure out, you know, is the curve going to go down? And then just making sure that we adhere to what the state regulations are, county, and then the city. So it's a multi-layered effect for us.
Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Michelle said, it's been a very fluid situation, and you know, I think it is important to know that although a lot of the show's been canceled, we haven't been closed per se. So there still are a lot of things going on at the building, and I think we'll get into that. But it's been hard to see, you know, across the country and hear all of the shows and everything that's been canceled. And we're trying to do our best. We're trying to make the best out of the situation by doing all sorts of projects and different things to our building, so that when we do open up, you know, we're ready to go, and it's a building that people are excited to come back to, excited to see, and again, and now with everything going on, a safe place to be as well.
Thank you. Eric, talk to us about the many factors on our side of things that would have to force us to shut down.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it was heartbreaking. We were a week away from beginning to perform Memphis. We were in rehearsal, and we had to just stop it. We've never had to do anything like that before, and it was heartbreaking. We rightfully so spend so much time thinking about making it safe for our patrons to come back. But, you know, I started joking early on, as many of us did, when we get the patrons back, what are they going to see? What's going to be on the stage? You know, it's our goal to make things look seamless and easy, so that when you come to see a show, you almost feel like you're having a movie experience. The truth of the matter is, it's far from a movie. And so it has taken months to prepare. All of those actors that you see, and about 100 people backstage in the orchestra, they all have to touch. They all have to breathe on each other. They can't be in masks if you're going to understand what they have to say. So, you know, we follow Broadway standards because performing in Raleigh Memorial Auditorium, it's actually larger than most Broadway houses. But that's what we have to go by. And Broadway, you know, can't figure out a way to do it either yet. Everybody's being very creative, and whoever figures something out first, we're all going to copy it. But we have to make sure, you know, we can't put a microphone on anybody because we can't touch them. We can't put wigs on them. We can't have quick changes. They can't get in costumes. So it's like, how do they practice dancing? How do they practice singing? So there are all of those factors that go into the performance side that a lot of people don't think about, nor should they need to. But we definitely have to think about it. And we are an equity house. Which means that we hire half of our actors that are part of the Actors Equity Union from New York. The other actors that we hire in our cast are actors local, and they're not union. So the union is being very careful before they allow actors to come back. And whether actors are equity or not, it doesn't matter. Their lives are just as important. So if it's not safe for equity actors to perform, it's not safe for non-equity actors to perform. So we are taking it very slowly, step by step. And there has been some good news with a one-person show and a tiny cast show, Godspell, that's been performed outside. Both of those have been done in Massachusetts. So we're examining how those things are happening, and we hope to follow suit.
Thank you. That brings me to my next question, Eric. Thank you. Brian and Michelle, you've been following some shows that have opened outside of the United States. So we've gotten questions about that. South Korea, Europe, there's something beginning in London. Tell us about what is different about our American performing arts industry from these other places that might be keeping the Raleigh Memorial Auditorium and the other venues within our Duke Energy Center for the Performing Arts shut down in our city. Oh, Michelle, just for a second. There you go.
I think that we're able to pull a lot of background on how they've opened up their venues. I know that in South Korea, they are doing Phantom, and they're working with all of the the company to make sure that they open, safely for them. They do temperature checks on everyone, whether it's the patrons, the performers, and then I think a lot for them is, I think they're staying together. I don't think that I think that they keep that circle very close as far as performers, and they stay in that circle. But we are looking, we watch them all the time, and we are stealing from them. Like pretty much like what Eric said. I mean, we are going to steal and see what works for us. The temperature screenings, the hand sanitizing stations, all of those things is something that we will work into our reopening plans when the time comes.
I'm going to add, just because I've read a little bit about it too, to help answer this question. I've read that there's also very successful contact tracing going on for every single audience member.
Yes.
And also, as you mentioned, isolation has been very seriously pursued. We talk a lot about, when I've traveled internationally to tour theater all over the world, we're the huggiest people in the world. Maybe the Swedish are huggy, but we're pretty dang huggy. And it's hard for us as a culture, so I think that's probably part of it too.
It's also culturally, other
Yeah.
places, it's been a culture, they've accepted their culture of wearing masks, and they have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So there's a whole regimen that a lot of the places that are having this success, they have been doing things much differently than we've been doing here for a long time. And so that has helped.
I agree with Eric, and I was going to say that as well. They definitely accepted that, and this is not new to them. It is a little bit new to us, and also we're a bit handcuffed right now with the limits that we can have in a theater. Right now we're under the state mandate of 10 people inside and 25 people outside. So we still have those hurdles that we need to clear before we can even think about having folks into our theater, because to do it for 10 people, it just doesn't work, obviously. So, we're still handcuffed by some state regulations, and we can't do anything about that. So that's another tough part of the situation that we're in.
Yeah. 10 people. Yeah. North Carolina theater, $100,000 a ticket. So the last question that has come up that we would love to spend a little extra time on are the safety precautions that the building is putting in place for the audience. And, you can speak about backstage somewhat too. A lot of that backstage, however, will have to do with our actors union and some of our other unions that will come through in the professional theater. But front of house for our audience members, I know you've been doing a lot. I've been hearing about, we're not in our building right now, but I know you're grinding and breaking things down and building things up. And I think our patrons would love to hear that they will be safe when they do come back. We don't know when they're coming back, but when they do, you're preparing for them along with your industry. And I wonder if you can talk about that, Michelle and Brian.
Yeah, so I'm going to let Brian take most of this, just because he is on a lot of committees with people across the country. So Brian, I'm going to refer to you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, since this has happened, we've been very much in touch with other folks around the country, not just performing arts centers, but convention centers, amphitheaters, all sorts of different things. And it's really been put together by IAVM, which is the International Association of Venue Managers. And we've been part of that group for a long time. And it really is a fantastic group with a lot of people that are all trying to do the same thing. Even when we're not in these trying times, we're always looking at what other folks are doing across the country. How can we be better as a theater? What's that new cutting edge technology? All those kind of fun things. And it's exciting. Sometimes we can do that and sometimes we can't. But one thing that's really came out of that, and it's been since the beginning, is a GBAC star certification. And what that is it stands for Global Biorisk Advisory Council. And what it does for us is it trains our cleaning folks to a standard that is across the board signed off on by ISA, which is the International Sanitation Supply Association. And it is saying that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that things are clean, disinfected properly, any sort of biohazard spills we're able to take care of properly. And so going through this process, we need to hit 20 different elements that says, this is what we're doing. And some of those would be our disinfecting protocols, our waste removal, our standard operating procedures, our equipment. We're making sure that all of the disinfectants that we have are registered on the EPA list N, which those are the disinfectants that are known to kill COVID-19. We've updated some of our equipment. We have electrostatic sprayers that we didn't have before. And so we're really excited about some of those things going on. So again, we have a fantastic cleaning staff already, but what this does is it's going to really give them the tools to make sure that when people come back in, that we're taking the proper steps to make sure that people are safe and they feel comfortable coming back into our facilities. I think too, a lot of times you wouldn't see our cleaning staff before, and we wanted to, we did that because we want to make sure, everything, people are able to go where they need to, and it doesn't look like things need to be cleaned up. You'll probably be seeing more cleaning staff around when you're coming to shows. And that's just because we're going to be a little bit more in the face. We want to show that we are doing everything we can to make sure that the building's clean. You are going to see temperature scanners. You're going to see additional hand sanitizing stations. You're going to see social distancing efforts. We've already looked at different ways how our concession lines will work. Changing up that queue. How you enter the building might be a little bit different. And it's things that, again, as this has gone on, that Michelle and myself and the leadership over at the Duke Energy Center have all talked about. And 2 weeks before, it might be one thing, and all of a sudden we go, ooh, that might not be the best idea. Let's pivot and let's look at this. So even though we know that we're not going to have shows for a while, we are still very much involved all the time about looking at best practices, what other folks are doing, Europe, Asia, here in the United States, about, if folks are able to open. So all sorts of different things. And, we're really excited about it. We're excited about the GBAC STAR certification. We're actively going through that process now. So we're gathering up some of our information. It does have to get sent out. It has to be approved and signed off on, and it is a big deal. So a few convention centers in California have it now. So this is something that's very fluid. I'm on a work group right now with folks around the country, Performing Arts Center in San Diego, in San Jose, all sorts of places, and we're all working to get ours in. DPAC's involved as well here in North Carolina, and some other facilities in North Carolina. So we're hoping to take the lead on this a little bit, and again, we're excited about where that's going. And I'll also touch on, you might see some, or you will see some foot pulls for doors and bathrooms. Again, something that you might not have seen before. And we also look at our air handling. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the air and what we're doing there. We have a fantastic staff that is constantly maintaining our buildings, and we're using some of the highest rated filters that we can have, which what that does is catch those smaller particles. So that's not getting, not going into the air. But at the same point, our air handling units are fantastic. They're very efficient. They have to hit heating coils and cooling coils, and by the time this air comes out, it is clean. And really the biggest thing is maintaining your systems, having proper exhaust, bringing in outside air when we can, which we do. So, we're taking all those steps, and we're taking those steps now because we have folks in the building. We have cleaning folks, we have maintenance folks. So these are steps that we've taken, and we're very, very, we're on top of it. So our filters might get changed out a little bit more than they used to. That's just another step just to be safe. And we also look at another industry, which is the American Society of Heating and Air Conditioning Engineers. And they put out a lot of statements about what are best practices. I know there's a lot of talk about UV technology. We're seeing if that's something that we need to do or not. Again, some of these things are very expensive too, and we have to be careful. So the biggest thing that they say is maintaining your systems properly. we do that. We are in those units every single day, logging them, understanding what they're doing, and maintaining them properly. So again, the staff there's been amazing. They're working hard, and we understand that even though the doors aren't open for patrons right now, that they will be, and we need to take the steps now to make sure that when we do, we're not catching up. We're already there. So those are some of the things. I'll let Michelle, jump in about any other things I may have missed, maybe some back of house things, but we're busy. We're doing everything we can, and we're excited to welcome people back for sure.
Thank you so much, Brian. And Michelle, I want to comment that you've done a beautiful job getting us to know your cleaning staff and your maintenance staff. We know everybody by name. They know us. We have a family feel in that building between your crew and our own. Many of them have come back and forth and worked for Eric backstage, have worked for you backstage. But we know our cleaning crew and invite them to our opening night parties whenever we can. So I think that's an important piece. You're building a good culture, Brian, as well, throughout this organization that we've seen really growing under your leadership and under Carrie Painter. So thank you.
Yeah.
Michelle, anything
Thank you.
else you'd like to add to that?
No, I think Brian done a really good job on what we're doing to ensure the safety of everyone, employees, and clients like yourself and patrons. So yeah,
that's fantastic. And congratulations on your new seats in May, Mandy. The symphony is going to be fantastic when they get back in, and the ballet may be able to get back in a little sooner than the theater. So they may be able to get back into that Fletcher or the RMA. So we know you're there with us, and we're really grateful. We've also had some questions about what is North Carolina Theater doing during this time. And so Eric, I'm going to dive in with you. Tell us a little bit about what we've been up to during this time when we can't perform on the main stage.
Absolutely. Almost immediately after everyone was staying home and sheltering in place and quarantining, we came up with a program with our conservatory, which is Quarantunes. And Lauren Sale, our executive director at the conservatory, really spearheaded this with her staff there, and reached out to a bunch of the students, the young people, and had them put songs on video, songs that they love singing, and then we sent those videos to patrons, starting with patrons who were a little older and who we thought might need a smile. So that was a great effort. We have turned our costume shop into a mask making factory. We have been working on, I've been working on this stargazing series, because we were really brainstorming, how can we give a little, look back, a sneak peek at some of the great performances that have been on our stages in the past. Because it is such an interesting time. We're figuring out how to do virtual things, but theater is not virtual. Virtual is film and TV. So theater is meant to be live. So figuring out how to do that, because we all want to figure out how to do that, our answer was stargazing. So we're making the connection with some of the great performers who have been here from Broadway and the great performers who are right here in our backyard, and featuring them and showing some clips. And one of the other exciting things that we've been doing is since we had to cancel our, we had four really exciting events for our young people this summer, and we had to cancel them. One was a production of Matilda. So we morphed that into the Matilda experience. So the director that we had lined up, this fantastic director, Erin Spear, she came up with all these ideas to do virtually with the students, so they would still feel like they were getting something connected to the show Matilda. And then I contacted a lot of Broadway folks, and we had this huge lineup of Broadway stars who did virtual Broadway boot camps with all of those cast members. So we were really excited about that, and it was a way that we were forced to pivot, but we felt like we felt like it was meaningful, and we've had great feedback from our students that were partaking in the program, and we've had great feedback from our patrons. with the stargazing episodes as well as the quarantunes. So we're doing more and more and more. We're about to be a part of a 10-minute play festival that we're partnering with Burning Coal, and we're doing one of the 19th Amendment plays. So we're working on that, trying to keep the creative juices flowing. So that's kind of what we're up to right now.
Thank you, Eric. I'll add that we've recently been hearing back from some of our funders, PNC, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Duke Energy have come forward and are supporting our diversity, equity, and inclusion effort called All In, which really moves from both the stage to the audience in a goal to have our audiences and our actors and our board and our staff and our stakeholders reflect the demography of North Carolina in 2030, by the time we get to 2030. So that's a big goal. And we have a lot of different tactics that we're following with that. So it's nice to have a little funding for that as we consider ways to continue community dialogues. We've reached out to the libraries. We're trying to figure out what partners in some communities that are currently underserved by the arts might be interested in working with us to continue dialogues off stage and in the digital forum, kind of like this. So we're going to keep that work moving. So a couple of questions from patrons that are specific that we received. So I'm going to dive into some of those, everybody. And we're a little bit more than halfway through here. So I just want to give us a sense of time. So the first question is from Ken. Ken asks us all, how do you imagine the arts will be when we reemerge? I'd like to jump in at first if I can. I think the answer to this question is that people are going to be so excited about returning to the theater. They're going to want to have fun. They're going to want to have joyful times together. They're going to come to concerts that Michelle is putting on, the symphony, the ballet, the theater, and they're going to want to be swept up. They're going to want to have a good time. And I think that North Carolina Theater is an expert at this, given how I feel when I watch our shows. So, I think we're pretty fun. And because theater is really also about examining our society and answering questions, or at least looking at puzzles that our society is beginning to surface, I really do think we're going to see a lot more about diversity, equity, and inclusion on the stage. We at North Carolina Theater have taken a lot of steps in this arena, and we know that there's a lot more work to be done. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. North Carolina Theater, along with our arts industry, and you, Brian and Michelle, and the City of Raleigh, as venue managers, we are all advancing efforts around Black Lives Matter. And we've been activated in support of that movement. And so I see that coming to play and bear on the kind of work that people are going to be demanding in our community.
I agree totally. And we are dedicated to change through action. And, we're using this intermission as a time to reflect and to listen and to learn and to grow. And, in the past few seasons, the ratio of our performers that have been on stage are actually 50% BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color. So that's nice. I mean, that's moving in the right direction. That's a great baby step. We have to continue. And we have to continue that in every aspect of our theater company. Because the ratio is not necessarily that in every other area. So there is work to be done. We are challenged by this work. We are thrilled to be a part of pushing this work forward.
That's right. This brings me to this next question, actually, which I would love to turn to our Michelle and Brian first. We have a question from Jason. Thank you, Jason. Jason asks, although I've been pleased with the diversity of the shows, as Eric mentioned, more needs to be done for patron diversity. Is it possible to tie public funding of the arts to goals to increase diversity among our patrons? This might put proper attention on ensuring we're serving the entire community in the arts. What do you guys think about that? The City of Raleigh, its emphasis on diversity in its funding, and how the building reflects our broad community, do you think?
We are working with the arts department, the city council. I mean, we are a city-owned building, and it is important that we are give the space to allow you all to also be a part. For you guys to change, and then for us to be a part of the change. We try to, people rent the facility. So we really try to guide them on what our community needs and really advise them, making space for the diversity, whether it's different ticket prices or, just that the diversity on stage. So, and really have that communication with you and be that space for, that we allow all of that to come. So it's really great to see all of the things that you guys are doing, all of the other resident companies are doing, and we are looking for new companies to come in to the building and use our space. And we've been working for about 2 years with some new promoters. And we've really changed our dynamic on on what those artists and comedians and other, different kind of groups coming in. So it's really interesting to see the changes that we've been able to make over the past 2 years. But it's also, given this time, it's so funny that we have COVID and we can have this time to have space to listen and to see what the community needs, and to allow us to be able to have a time to reflect and give some space and give us some time to bring what the community needs.
Yeah,
I'll piggyback on that. It's actually something that we've talked about in our senior staff meetings lately, and we don't know exactly what it looks like, but that conversation is being had. What can we do? What are some things that are out there? So we don't have anything concrete, I think, just yet, but it is a very fluid conversation. It's something that we understand, needs to happen. And I know the City of Raleigh, it is a huge push for them. They in our emails and talking to us, and there's been all sorts of different webinars and things that we've been a part of, and the city's been fantastic with it. So it's something that we're talking about. We're trying to figure out what that looks like, how we can do, and what we can do. And we're hoping that in the next few months we'll have some real initiatives that we can push forward.
That's great, Brian. The city, I would just add, is great about its access for the disabled community in the arts. And so we have a lot of conferences around this topic, from ticketing to seating, online and in person. And so like Brian has mentioned, you have national discussions about this. I know that so does the City of Raleigh around access for the disabled community. And I just want to add, I think too, that as a business, we're in show business, if we want to sell some tickets, our audience is there for the art. And when they see, for example, what Eric's been bringing to the stage when he mentions 50% BIPOC artists, we get these words back from people in their notes to us. This feels so fresh. This is new. And I feel excited. I love it. I love what you're doing. We get a lot of that feedback. And I think that goes into the audience too. When you enter a space, you want to be surrounded by something that makes you feel relevant, and that makes you feel like you're part of something. And if you're in a homogenous audience space, you don't feel that way. I think our audiences, from a business perspective, demand us to be more diverse in our audiences. And so we do the work on stage to help start that, as Eric mentioned. There's a lot more work to do: marketing dollars, community partnershiping, going out and attending events within the communities we wish to reach, making friends. These are the ways we're going to get there. Okay, so another few more questions from patrons. This one's an interesting one from James. James says, I've been coming to the theater for more than a couple of years now, and I've had tickets to the last 3 NCT shows which were canceled. How are you going to manage the capacity level? So getting back to COVID, social distancing, what are the logistics going to be worked out that are going to handle crowds of people, trying to space them out, with safety protocols that you'll have in place. And he does mention that because there's a lot of money behind all this, how do you pull this off if you can't break even? You know, what's the revenue model behind that? And he asks us to do the Lion King, Eric. Just put that in your blog. Michelle, can you talk about that kind of e-ticketing, social distancing a little bit more? Stagger? Are you going to have?
I'll definitely leave the break even to you.
Okay.
For us, we are working on what we're calling pod seating. So we're creating the social distance seating where you have 2 seats and then together. So a patron can purchase 2 seats together or 3 seats together or 4 seats together, and it's spaced appropriately throughout the theater. For Memorial Auditorium, I mean, we're talking about a 2,300 seat capacity. Well, now the capacity is going to be around 700. And that's for the foreseeable future. So we'll be doing, we're opening up the lobbies to where we can space those folks out, where they might spill over into Fletcher lobby, Mandy lobby, and in addition to Memorial lobby. And then we'll be doing some staggered entry. So everyone's not to come at the same time, and we'll be opening the doors a little bit longer to allow that to where people can get to their seats on time. And we are hoping to do paperless ticket as much as possible. And I know that that's going to be a huge change for folks. But just that the interaction between the box office and allowing us to be able to text the ticket to you versus handing the ticket to you. And then we already do the scanning of the tickets, so we don't take your ticket and tear it. So that interaction would be a lot, would cut down. And then, like Brian said earlier, you know, the hand sanitizing stations and the temperature checking, and then you'll be going through security screening. Those layers and allowing that extra time to come into the space is going to assist. But I think the pod seating is what's going to be quite interesting as we open up trying to sell tickets in the near future.
Very true. You know, we don't have a show planned now this year, in part because there isn't a revenue model that works for a large scale, high quality Broadway style musical like we create, where we have to sell 700 tickets. Well, we couldn't even sit all of our subscribers likely in that scenario. Eric or Brian, did you want to add anything to this?
I was just going to exactly agree with and piggyback on what you were saying. I mean, when you take those numbers, if we had built our budget on trying to sell 2,300 seats for 8 performances, and now we've got 700 seats for 8 performances, it completely changes the numbers in our budget. It has to. Our goal will be that you can't tell when you come to see the show, that you can't tell. So that hopefully there will be creative things, and you know, that's our job, is to figure out how to work the magic and give you an incredible experience. But it will be different. It has to be different. And you know, the whole experience is going to be different. Baseball's different. Everything's different. It's we just have to accept that.
Yeah, Brian, did you have anything?
I think Eric hit on it. It's going to be different. I think, you know, we had a book, right, and we just go see it. and we have to do that because we have to figure out what's best now. You know, as Michelle kind of mentioned, you might be coming to a show in Memorial, but you might be coming through Mandy to come back through Memorial. And why are we doing that? Will we ever do it before? No. Will we do it now? Yeah, because it's giving more space and it's making people feel safe. So as you said, it's your job to make that magic happen on stage and to make it feel comfortable. It's our job to make the patrons feel comfortable coming into the venue. So it really is teamwork there and a collaboration between all entities to make sure that we're doing everything we can for the patrons. So as we said, we're thinking about it all the time, every day. What can we do? And as things change, we change. And even if we don't have folks in the building now, we can, you start seeing different things and going, you know what, this might be a better way to to do something, and that's what we're doing. So.
Thank you. We have a question that's come through our live stream chat, and I'm going to go ahead and ask Eric on this one, but maybe Michelle, you can pipe in too. The question is, have we thought about live streaming our performances in the future? And then that goes back to another question from a patron who was Diane, who asked us, she saw Hamilton at DPAC and then she watched it at home on Disney Plus, and she says she is in a high risk group and she's thinking home TV is going to be the theater of the future. We of course want her with us, and she wonders how theater might be able to come to her.
I'll jump in on that. And I forgot to address Lion King. I couldn't love Lion King more. I actually was really jealous. I cast a lot of the Disney on Broadway shows, and Lion King is not one of those. And I always wish that I could have been a part of that one. It is still so popular that the rights are not available. It's still touring whenever it's able to tour again, and it's certainly running on Broadway and all over the world. And so when shows are successfully running like that and touring, we're not able to get the rights. We jump on the rights as soon as we can get shows and they become available. So we're certainly circling Lion King, but it unfortunately will be quite a while before we can do that. Talking about filming things, you know, theater, I touched on it before. Theater is not meant to be filmed. Now, Hamilton was amazing. Hamilton, they went in there, they took 3 days to shoot it. They did 2 performances, and then they went in with no audience and went in for close-ups. They had so much money, millions of dollars behind them to make that look like that look. That wasn't just a camera, you know, and a regular performance, which is what we do if we were able to tape a performance. It wouldn't look like your movie. It would be frustrating because the quality is not great. Also, with filming things right now, it goes back to the question, you know, how do we prepare the show that you think we're going to film? How do we rehearse that? You know, there's no way to get those people in a room to make the product to film it. Now, if we can get there and we can do something really small and we can figure it out, we're going to figure it out. And people are certainly starting to think about that. The union has very strict rules because the Actors Equity Union doesn't allow things to be filmed and taped. There's a different union for that. So the 2 unions are trying to figure out how to make that work. And they have not come to an agreement yet. So there are lots of things. Everybody is trying to make that happen. Look, if we were able to get a performance in the theater and we were able to invite as many folks that felt safe and comfortable to come, because we want to have that live experience. And if we were able to film that or live stream that and send that to other patrons, that would be, in my opinion, hitting the jackpot, you know, for any time soon. But I just don't know how quickly that is going to happen, but we're all working towards it. And just to finish with that, you know, I did cast Aladdin, the Broadway show, and Aladdin about 1.5 years ago, way before the pandemic, Aladdin did what Hamilton did and took about 2 weeks, shut down the London production, took actors from all over, we picked from all the different companies and filmed it. And it's going to come out probably on I'm sure on Disney Plus. And so there are some shows like that, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of money. So we're trying to figure out our way to approach that.
Michelle?
You know, for us, for the venue, we have been looking at purchasing a couple of cameras just to have for clients that is able to make exactly what Eric said, make it happen on the back end royalty side. And at least have those that equipment in-house to make it a little bit easier on your side. So, but you know, exactly what Eric said, it's very layered.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm gonna put Eric on a cherry picker and I kind of crane you around the house, and that's gonna be really fun. We are running out of time. I did want to address, just because it's kind of fun, I see Mark in North Hills had one more question for us. He asked us, Eric, if you could talk a little bit more, speaking of filmed theater, about the 19th Amendment play that you are working on with Burning Coal and all the collaborators. And we, mute.
Sure. Would love to. It's the 19th Amendment 10-minute play festival is something that Burning Coal is producing and reached out to, I believe, 14 companies in the area. And there were 14 playwrights from all over the world, female playwrights and they did 10-minute plays about the 19th Amendment. So we chose one. We were randomly selected and matched with plays. And so we are producing one at North Carolina Theater. I'm directing it. And we're so excited because it is sort of a modern twist on Guinevere and King Arthur. And so we at first thought we would have to do it like Zoom, like a lot of the play readings and things and some concerts, but we're not going to. We are going to film it. And Eric Collins, who is a lot of people in the area know as an incredible sound engineer, designer, is also filming things now and working with on the visual side of things. So he's co-producing it with me, and we did a Zoom rehearsal, and we're going to do a few more of those. And then we're actually going to, in a socially distanced way, put it into a space and film it. So it's going to be a bit of a mixture of both. It's going to be a play that is filmed.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Brian, Michelle, thank you for your incredible dedication and your professionalism. Nobody signed up for this stuff, and now you're going to be experts at some interesting things. I think the pandemic is very unifying as in many ways, even as we are seeing so many disparities having a light shined on them. We are also seeing ways where society is seeking to unify. And that is the grand purpose of the performing arts and the building that we have. Its whole job is to just bring people together. And it's our expertise, and we can't wait to do it again soon. Eric, thanks for doing it digitally. I'd love to bring Lauren back on to join us. Remind everyone to check out our website, consider making a donation to the theater. We could really use some help right now to bridge this difficult gap, or buy a subscription. Check out our youth conservatory just to give yourself uplift, see what some of those kids are doing digitally. It feels so good to watch them. But Lauren, again, thank you so much for sharing your platform with us tonight.
Well, it is my happy place. I think one of the last shows I saw, if not the last show, was Kinky Boots. And it was a joy fest. So I can't wait to get back to it safely when it's safe to do so. So thank you all for being here. And to tell all our viewers, there will be a replay. I'll at least for tonight, if you tuned in late and you want to hear everything, the video will be available on the Facebook. The Are You on Stage Facebook page, so that you all can find it there and watch it from the beginning. Are You on Stage is off tomorrow, but we'll be back Friday. We have an Instagram live event. We're going to the West End, and we're going to talk to Danielle, who is the first cover for Elsa on the West End and Frozen. Disney is something you know a little bit about, right, Eric?
A little bit, yes.
And then Friday night I'll be with Juan Isler, and I can finally say this. I haven't been able to say it, but another big lover of the arts is Kristen Cooper, our First Lady of North Carolina, and I will have an interview with her on Tuesday, so join me for that. She loves the arts, so thank you everyone for doing this. And
thanks for having us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Elizabeth, do you want to tell people how to reach you if they have questions that weren't answered?
Sure. A couple ways. You can contact us through social media, and that will get directly to me through our social media folks. There's information on our website to get to any of our different departments. You can email me. My email is edoran@nctheater.com. And I check it 700 times a day at home.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. And I will see you at the theater. That's my tagline for everything. So I'm hopefully optimistically saying, I'll see you at the theater.
See you then, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Love it.
Bye.
Bye.